Hello everybody, it's GirlGotGame, and welcome back to Gilded Shadows. Today, it's time for a new boy's root, who we haven't met yet, but his name is CAISSA, and all I know is he's got a gorgeous tattoo on his neck and beautiful hair. And yeah, that's basically all I know about the guy. And that he's not part of Endgame. So we're going to be seeing a whole different side of things this time around, which I'm really excited about. So, for CAISSA, he prefers the cautious, flexible, and emotional traits. So, just like I did for Ari, I'm going to have some choices that I need to follow so that I can interact with the guy. And then once we're on his route, I'm on my own again. But I'm bringing you in for the first choice because I think this is the only choice with Trent's card that we haven't done yet. In the runs I've done so far. So, since our girl Morgan is supposed to be emotional, I'm going to toss the card aside and try to forget about it. I tossed the card on the countertop, my mood deflating. I didn't understand. Why pick now to pop back up? Why, after nearly a year of absolutely nothing? Did he even know how hard I tried to find him? Just to make sure he was okay after that one message telling me he'd landed safely? He couldn't even let me know exactly where on Syrah he was, and now he wanted to meet me for coffee because he missed me. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't read this before, because I'm like, is it? But I think it's just similar to one of the other ones, a little bit. My memory's spotty, so you'll have to forgive me. I missed you too. For months, I missed you. I sighed softly, feeling a familiar sting at my eyes, even as I tried to swallow down the lump growing in my throat. Why does he always do this kind of thing? I'd been so happy for him when he left. An opportunity to intern at an off-world research facility? I mean, I wanted that too, and he was getting to go before he'd even finished school. Researching Espers was something he'd always wanted to do, and he had worked hard for the chance to do it. He made 4th Prime Tier and got into a program that would let him work directly with these so-called fairy espers on Syrah. It was so amazing they were even offering such an opportunity to students. Even though I hadn't expected us to be separated so soon, I thought we could work something out. Maybe. We'd already talked about what would happen when we finished with school. We could have moved off-world together. Even Syrah had places of archaeological interest. I could have found work there, possibly. Or if not, we could have traveled back and forth. But I guess my being stuck planet-side for school made it harder than he expected. Of course, I don't know what really happened. We said goodbye at the station when he was catching the transport, and I got a brief message when he arrived. And then nothing. I waited. And waited. Weeks, months, just to hear anything at all. And the message I wanted never came. I tried to find out where the program he was with had taken him, where he was staying, what he was working on. I could never get any information. Man, this Morgan, like, really worked hard to try to find her boyfriend, and then she's like, she had to cut losses at some point. Sheesh. It took 3 months before I stopped finding myself randomly tearing up when I thought of him. 4 before I could visit our favorite cafe without crying. Aww. And finally, I reconciled with the fact that he had moved on. That he was too busy, or just didn't care. That what we had didn't register high enough on his priority list to even let me know he was alive. And he wanted to just come back like everything was normal. I didn't have the heart to let him back in, though. Not anymore. I'd finally been able to let go. I wasn't going to look back now. Sorry, Trent. But even as I turned away to put the rest of my things away, I saw the card out of the corner of my eye. I should throw it away, but I left it where it was anyway. Interesting. Alright, girl. I see you. I see all in your feels. Do I have a thing for this? I do not, so I can do whatever I want here. Let's do what we've done before. Maybe when we were doing, like, Ari's bad endings kind of thingamadude. That might be for the best. Hello, sir. I should probably give a report. Yes. Okay, great. Hello. And... okay, this is our first choice that we need to be doing. So instead of that, we have to tell Ruben I'll come by this afternoon as planned. Of course I was busy. Did he think I stepped out today just to talk to him? Ugh. They couldn't even wait for me to come by and had to stalk me at my house? This was ridiculous. I can come by this afternoon as planned if you tell me where, but unfortunately my morning is booked, Mr. Kelner. I didn't quite manage to hide the exasperation, but his expression didn't change. I would imagine he was used to dealing with much worse.
Of course. I understand. I'll send the details to you right now. We have a temporary space set up while we're in town, so I'd prefer to meet there. My apologies for bothering you this morning, Miss Leone. I'm sure you understand we wish to catch this culprit as soon as possible. Given that he attacked someone, damaged property, and is still at large.
I do understand, but I'm not sure my personal perspective on the incident is going to help much. I don't think it'll reveal much more than you can see on the recordings, but I will be in to give a statement. Later today.
I understand. I'm sure you're a busy woman, so I'll let you get on with your morning. Thank you, Miss Leone.
He held out a hand, and I hesitated for only a brief moment before I shook it. He nodded politely and turned around, leaving me standing there. I got the address for his office a few seconds later, and, with great reluctance, scheduled myself in for a few hours from now. It wasn't as if I had a problem with giving a statement. I'd been planning on it anyway, obviously. But it would have been nice if I'd been allowed to get my mind off things for just a little while. Though I guess I should just be grateful he hadn't been pushy. At least now I could focus on my errands in peace. Alright, I'm curious what's gonna happen now that we're not having that meeting with him. After that, my morning was relatively productive. I'd gone to the grocer to get enough food to last a few days, so I wouldn't have to leave my flat again for a while. Most of that was set to be delivered later in the afternoon. I only had one small bag of tangerines and some other produce with me. And then, since I had something scheduled for later in the afternoon, I decided to stop by for lunch at a nearby cafe that was close enough to home I didn't feel anxious about going there.
Is this the cafe you went to with Trent?
They also had a lovely open-air seating area that I'd used a lot when studying, so I was able to enjoy the weather while eating as well. As I had my lunch and watched the passersby, I couldn't help but feel it was a little crowded today. It set me on edge a little, but I was fine sitting at the cafe watching everyone. It's not like I can hide in my apartment because of one bad experience. Besides, the crowd yesterday wasn't even to blame for what had happened. Still, they hadn't managed to catch that man yet. It wasn't as if I thought he'd stalk me or anything, but I'd feel better if he was in custody. I tried my best to push those thoughts from my mind. But by the time I was finished eating, it was starting to get even more crowded. I decided to head home. I had enough time to get there, check on my deliveries, then leave again. I paid for my meal and reluctantly joined a crowd of people waiting to cross the street, mentally going over what I'd tell them when I gave my statement later on. I hope it doesn't take too long. I'd really like to get home and just read or something for a while to get my mind off things. I was jostled to the side as a few more people joined the group at the curb. Being sandwiched between so many people brought back thoughts of yesterday at the fountain, and the man who'd attacked me. I tensed up in spite of myself. I knew it was irrational, but I couldn't stop the panicky feeling that started at the pit of my stomach and slowly worked itself to my throat. Hey, don't feel bad, girl. I get like that, and I have never been attacked out in public. I'm just like, crowds, closing in. My chest tightened, and it was suddenly hard to breathe. I shut my eyes, trying to take deep breaths. It wasn't as if that man would be here again just because there was a crowd. It wasn't at all the same situation. There was no reason to feel so anxious from trying to cross the street. But another person smashed into me from the side, pushing me to someone else. I finally decided I needed to get out of the thick of them. I could cross after everyone else. I backed quickly away from the curb only to crash into a man directly behind me. When I felt a hand on my shoulder, I whirled around instinctively, heart in my throat. Oh, we found him! Doo, 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 doo. Let's go! Look at him, man! Oh, he's so cool looking. He's got awesome rings and things. Dang. I'm unprepared for you, sir. And your baby blues. Of course, the man standing there was just a normal man. And he was looking at me with confusion, maybe a little irritation. Were you stalking me, though? Apologize or push past him? We should apologize, for sure, because, I mean, that's our bad. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I let out a soft breath, trying to just get a grip on myself.
Are you alright?
I'm fine. Excuse me. Embarrassed, I rushed past him, wrapping my arms tightly around myself as I fled back to the cafe where I could collect myself a little. I fell into one of the chairs, letting out a shaky breath. That had sort of hit out of nowhere. I'd been fine all morning, too. Stupid! Why are you getting so worked up? I could berate myself later. For the time being, I tried to focus on breathing normally. I didn't actually realize the man followed me until I heard the familiar voice speak from a few feet away. Interesting. So he followed you. Oh, how thoughtful.
Yes, I believe she needs some water. Bring it quickly.
When I gave him a startled look, he just tipped his head slightly to the side. He was almost expressionless as he looked down at me.
Are you alright?
I think so.
Your color isn't good. Are you unwell? You look like you might pass out.
I'm just feeling a bit lightheaded. I think I'll be fine. He set a firm hand on my head and pushed it lower. Okay. Very aggressive. He's like, I will take care of you now.
Stay seated for now, and keep your head low until he returns with your water.
I tried to glare up at him at the unwelcome order, but he kept his hand where it was and didn't allow me to do so. I huffed an annoyed sigh, but decided to just be obedient for now. It felt like we sat there for quite a long time, me taking deep breaths and him keeping one hand on my head to prevent me from moving. Man, just imagining, like, running into a complete stranger who's, you know, concerned, but, like, aggressively concerned, and it's just like, I'm going to make sure that you get the help you need. I'd be annoyed, but also touched at the same time. I assumed whoever had gone off for water had finally returned, though, because I heard him thanking someone outside my field of view, and he finally removed his hand from my head. When I looked up, I saw that it had likely been to take the glass from someone. I took it from him and had a sip, though I wasn't thirsty. Oh, hello, and you grace us with a CG right off the bat. Let's go, sir. Showing off that awesome tattoo. The man crouched down, still giving me the same serious look. He reached up and carefully moved my hair off my forehead, letting his cold fingers rest on my temple briefly.
Your skin is clammy. Are you really alright?
I think I am. I looked away awkwardly, embarrassed by the attention from a man who was not only a stranger to me, but who was also distressingly beautiful. That is the perfect description, Morgan. Distressingly beautiful. I hadn't noticed it at first, but he had such fine features, not to mention a beautiful complexion. It was hard to not just stare at him.
Should I take you to a clinic?
No, I really am all right. I pushed his hand away and gave him a shaky smile. I just haven't slept, and it's a warm day. Probably a bad combination.
I suppose so.
I'm really sorry to trouble you. It was kind of you to follow and make sure I was all right.
If it was troublesome, I wouldn't have followed.
Ah. His expression softened slightly as if he realized how brusque that had sounded.
What I mean to say is, it wasn't troublesome. You truly looked quite ill. I was concerned.
Thank you. I really am alright. Mr. Chase? Chase. Okay. I mean, it's close-ish to your name, I guess.
You can call me Chase.
In that case, thank you, Chase. I apologize for worrying you. The crowd was just a little overwhelming for a moment, that's all. He stood and looked back to where more people were gathering, then back at me with a frown.
I didn't catch your name.
It's Morgan Leone. Damn, gave him first and last name, girl, I see you.
Is there somewhere I can take you, Miss Leone? I have a car parked nearby. I don't think it's wise for you to continue to your destination on foot.
Fortunately, I had calmed down pretty quickly from that little moment of panic. I shook my head as I stood. Thank you, but that's not necessary. I don't live far from here. I'll just take a less crowded path home. He seemed strangely disappointed. Ooh.
Are you certain?
I am. Thank you for the offer, though. I really do appreciate it.
Very well. In that case, I believe I shall allow you to continue on your way. Please do take care of yourself, Miss Leone.
I will. Thank you again. He nodded faintly, and after what felt like a very brief hesitation, left me there. With the light about to shift again, he jogged quickly across the street. I watched him until he vanished into the crowd on the other side. Ugh, I really need to get it together. I just needed to get home, check on everything, and get the stupid statement over with. Then I could maybe finally relax a little. I was so focused on getting back that I wasn't paying much attention to my surroundings after that. Looking back, that was definitely my first mistake. I had just exited a pedestrian-only area and was passing a sleek blue car parked near the footpath when it happened. Out of the corner of my eye, there was a strange flash, and for a split second, everything went silent. I quickly turned, but there was nothing there. Sound flooded back into the world, and everything was normal. I stood still for a long moment, just looking around as if that would help me work out what had happened. Something's wrong. It was as if there had just been a glitch in reality, but no one else had seemed to notice it. Is this when our Endgame boys try to kidnap us? Yep. Okay, I'm neither stubborn nor confident, so I think I've done this one before. Yes, okay. We'll just do that and skip ahead. Flexible is one of our things, so we'll still be flexible. That's fine. A little heart with Ari is okay, right, guys? It's hard seeing him and not being like, Ari, I love you too. I wanted to run, but where would I go? There was fighting outside, and I somehow didn't think it was because anyone out there was trying to rescue me. Are we back? Not yet. Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna put this here. There we go. Ari had mentioned factions. I didn't know what factions had closed in on us, but that didn't exactly sound friendly. I moved forward slowly, anxiously. Even if I could get out of the building before someone came after me, what then? What if the people out there were worse than Caleb and Ari? Ari said to hide, so I would. That didn't mean I would go along with them. I just needed to hide somewhere they wouldn't find me either. And then, when they'd given up, maybe I could think of a way to get home. Okay, maybe now? Yes. If the fighting was more on that side, then I wanted to hide myself somewhere as far from there as I could. So I'd just keep walking for now, keeping an ear out for any signs of being followed. In the meantime, questions, theories. I think we've done both of these before. We definitely did analytical. Cautious? Have we done cautious before? No, not yet. Alright, let's try cautious. Fear bubbled up in my throat and a wheezing gasp escaped my lips. I reacted before I could think about what I was doing and turned to flee back the way I came. It was stupid. A stupid panic response that I should have been smart enough to avoid giving into. But after everything that had happened, I reacted on pure instinct. I wasn't meant for this stuff. I was only a student, not someone who could handle gunfights and espers, and people stalking me in the dark. I staggered through the hall, debris tripping me up as I tried to run. My foot caught on something and I went sprawling. A sharp piece of glass cut deep into the soft part of my hand, just below my thumb as I hit the ground. Ow. I bit back the scream of pain, but a sob escaped as I scrambled back to my feet, casting a fearful look over my shoulder. I clutched that hand to my chest, fingers already slick with blood. A raspy whisper rustled to me in the dark as a lumpy shape shuffled out of the room. I could barely make out the figure, but I recognized that strange whisper right away. Oh, there's our boy.
The whispers crawled in me, like snakes that stole my soul. I can hear him strangling all the light with his eyes. His eyes are everywhere, in me, and they want to be in you. Even if you cry, they won't stop until they eat every part of you. Every part.
How can you be here? The figure stepped into a patch of light that filtered in from somewhere. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at the person in front of me. It was exactly who I thought it was. The man from the fountain. The Esper. But he was different. His appearance had changed. Are we back? Not yet. Ghostly skin and a strange light in his eyes. His hair had gone completely white. What had happened to him? What could possibly change someone like that? I had thought he was just a drug addict. But drugs didn't do that to you.
I know you. They know you. They found me because of you. No, they already found me. They find everyone. He found you because of me.
What are you doing here? How did you get here?
He brought me!
His voice rose to a shriek that petered out to a whimpering croak.
You could have saved the eyes. Why didn't you save me?
Well, I'm sorry, Rory. He rushed at me, mouth twisted open in a scream, hands outstretched. I screamed and stumbled backwards. He caught me and pinned me to the wall, one arm painfully across my collarbone. Unable to fight, barely able to breathe, I stared into his eyes.
I wanted you to save me, to take me to the stars. And now I'm gone. There's nothing left.
He grasped my injured hand and brought it to his mouth. I shuddered as he licked the blood from my palm. Ugh, I hate that.
One more taste of life before. It's only shadows and voices and voices and voices crawling over me like flies.
I will definitely reason with him because I want him to stay alive, and emotional is one of my traits anyway. Okay. There we go. Be free, Rory, be free! What do I do with this thing? Okay, this choice does matter. Flee the area to a safer place, which I think I did the first time as well. Yep. Hey, Jack. Welcome back. Does it matter what I do with Jack? This one doesn't matter. And I could be cautious or emotional. I don't know what he likes. Doesn't really matter. I'll be emotional. I squinted at him through blurred vision, helpless to deny that he was right. Can I really trust you? I hated how small and desperate my voice sounded. I hated having to rely on a complete stranger, one that was sure to have ulterior motives for helping. After all, he outright admitted he was here looking for me. He looked into my eyes for a long moment.
I promise you, I will never lie to you.
I tried to scoff, but it came out as a cough. Don't worry, I scoffed on your behalf. But, to be fair, even I just acknowledged that he was upfront about wanting to find me. Maybe that meant he really was trustworthy. Jack must have taken my silence as agreement. He leaned to take my hand and pull me to my feet. I groaned as pain and dizziness hit me at once and barely got upright before I collapsed against him.
I'll assume that means you're going to trust me.
I wouldn't go that far. I really wanted to be able to trust him, though. Okay, are we back? Not yet. Jack helped me to his car, frowning down at me as I sank into the seat and shut my eyes.
At least you're honest.
Ugh, I feel terrible. Alright. So, we're definitely not gonna wait there and say nothing. What do? Walk through? Ooh, I have to warn Jack this time. Endgame's coming, Jack. Save me. This choice will unlock the Crimson character roots. Ah, so that's who CAISSA's with. Crimson. If I didn't warn Jack, Endgame would find us. I'd be recruited and he would probably be captured, I guess? If I went with him, it felt like there might be some glimmer of hope that I could somehow return home. Someday, anyway. It wasn't a huge glimmer, but it was there. At the very least, I might be able to start a new life in Delphine, one that didn't involve recruitment into a paramilitary organization as a high-ranked Esper. Leaving my fallen chair where it was, I headed towards the place Jack had vanished to. My heart was in my throat and my entire body was shaking. I was desperately trying to ignore the feeling that this was a terrible decision. I couldn't second-guess myself. In the end, I didn't know what lay ahead of me on either path. But this one felt right. Jack came out of the restroom right as I was about to brace myself and head in. Nearly running into me, he caught me by the shoulders, startled to see me right there. We have to leave. Now.
Why?
Caleb and Ari are coming here. I don't know when they'll arrive.
How do you know?
I don't know. I saw it. I feel it.
I understand.
He gave the cafe a careful look around and wrapped an arm around my shoulders.
We'll have to be careful. They haven't located you yet, or they'd already be here, but we don't know how much time we have.
That's it? You're not questioning it? He gave me a wry grin as he led me carefully to a nearby exit at the back of the building.
Nope. For an untrained Esper like you, a premonition like that means you're probably getting a peek at the most likely future trajectory, not some random low-chance possibility. I reckon we have a limited window for shifting onto a different future path. No time for questioning it. Their top bishops are pretty adept, but they might be having difficulty reading your movements for now. One of them definitely has better skills with reading the futures of people she knows, so that's to our advantage.
I only had a vague idea of what he was talking about, so I said nothing as he pulled a weapon from a holster at his lower back. One I hadn't even realized he had. Alright, here we go! This is exciting. With one arm in front of me, he pushed the door open before pulling me outside into the alley. He ushered me along to where I assumed his vehicle was. Everything was all turned around in my head, so I had no idea where we actually were at this point. I just followed him, trying not to stumble on anything. Why do you carry a gun? Aren't you some kind of Esper?
Rooks use biokinesis to enhance our physical capabilities. It's not great for dealing with enemies at a distance.
Have I read about this before? Biokinesis is a form of telekinesis that involves manipulating organic matter on a macro and micro level. The resulting effect is that biokinetics can enhance their physical bodies in a variety of ways, including the way they process sensory input, to the effect of enhancing sensory perception, enhancing physical capabilities, or even their cellular regeneration. Most biokinetics are capable of using this ability on their own bodies, but are unable to safely apply the same principles to others, and often they do not have the same level of precise control of telekinesis of non-organic materials. This is because the manipulation of their own biology comes quite naturally, and most biokinetics use their ability with only a broad understanding of what they're doing, without really understanding the microbiology involved in something like regenerating skin cells to heal a cut. Okay. At the corner of the building, Jack paused again, carefully looking around the corner to check for anyone lurking out there, I guess. He held a small device up to his lips, whispering into it.
Unlock. Morgan, the car's not far away. We're going to run. You up for it?
Let's go. He grabbed my arm and pulled as he broke into a run towards the car. I stumbled after him, just trying to keep up. I heard the slow whine of a weapon a split second before it discharged. It hit the ground less than half a meter from my feet. And then we were at the car. Jack was throwing the door open and shoving me inside. There were more shots. Jack let out a grunt and staggered forward into the car, slamming the door shut. Something hit the side, shaking the entire vehicle, but it didn't stop Jack from starting it and slamming his foot on the accelerator.
Hold on!
To what? The entire car shook as Jack sped over a curb and veered into the narrow alley we'd just come from. Who was that?
Hell if I know. Not Endgame. They'd never try to snipe us like that.
Interesting. How are these people finding us?
We're all psychics, Morgan. Some bishops have a pretty wide range. At this point, we're just lucky an army of people haven't descended on this place. I figured the lack of pursuit before meant you were emitting a reverse cage. Queen ranks are known to do that. Sort of an involuntary defense mechanism.
Okay, I remember reverse cages. Did we actually read? Yes, cage and reverse cage. Definitely read about that before. He made another wild turn, and I was just glad there wasn't much room to be thrown around in the back seat. I don't know what that means!
It means you're invisible to them, essentially. At least some of them. Even if a precog is looking into your future, a strong enough reverse cage would still block you out of their sight.
Then how did that sniper find us?
Could have tracked me instead of you. Endgame doesn't know you're with me, so they wouldn't be tracking my movements. Not true for whoever was stalking you back in that abandoned sector.
Great.
I have a feeling they'll keep pursuing us until we've reached the rabbit hole, but I have friends there who will help us out.
Rabbit hole?
It's a, unauthorized entry point from Delphine into Cyrna, or the other way around. Cyrna, as you may know, has a few small unused domes just off their main dome complex. They're mostly sealed off from public access.
Let me guess. You have friends who can get us in.
Yeah, and there's a particular tunnel that's a straight shot to Pythia under the Ouroboros Sea.
And Endgame just lets you go back and forth?
Endgame doesn't know about every single thing happening on this planet, Butterfly. They're still mere mortals like the rest of us.
I forgot that he called her Butterfly.
As long as we get there soon, I think we'll be fine.
I'd rather take a nap. Right here. I deserve it. My head was pounding again. My ears are hot. Is that normal for psi fatigue?
I think you're going to be fine. And I'd like to reassure you by insisting the rest of you is just as hot, but it's probably not the time.
Jack, don't you distract me so early. That's rude. Definitely not. I was silent a minute. Is it going to be like this forever? People coming after me?
I doubt it. Once you're affiliated with someone else, people are less likely to pick a fight with an entire group just to get the new queen on their side. Right now, you're just an easy target.
That's not comforting.
Sorry about that.
We were silent a while as Jack veered in and out of tight alleyways, but it wasn't long before we hit a long open highway. He floored it, and I just shut my eyes and tried to not think about how fast we were going.
Hey, Morgan. Why did you tell me about Caleb and Ari?
Why are you so shocked? Weren't you trying to convince me to go with you?
Well, yeah. Just kind of thought it was going to take a little more convincing.
I guess I thought I had the best chance of finding some semblance of normalcy again if I was with you. It's obvious that everything has taken a turn, and I won't be able to go back to how things were. But when it comes to finding a way forward that at least somewhat aligns with what I've always wanted, I guess I thought I had the best chance if I took this path. Jack just laughed softly.
That's a logical approach, I guess.
People always choose the path that seems easiest. That's all. I don't want to join Endgame. I've never wanted that.
I guess that makes sense.
How long until we reach this rabbit hole?
Not long. Just brace yourself. It may get a little rocky from here on out.
Well, that's basically how this day has gone, so I guess I'm ready for it.
Glad to hear it.
We continued down the long freeway, and I just hoped beyond hope I'd made the right choice.